Good morning, friends, my colleagues on the dais. Thank you, Mr. Ravi Shankar, for kicking off the issues that you spoke about, how to take E to the village level. It's really heartening at this point to see the increasing focus that the government has on using and committing itself to using technology in everything that they do. And it's no surprise that in the last three, and I've been observing this, the last three budget speeches that Mr. Pranab Mukherjee made, at least there were 4 or 5 mentions each time about how technology is going to be used in ensuring that we have better governance and we are able to reach our schemes to every citizen in this country. And it is only right that today we have come to a stage, you know, people could talk about this country has been free for 60 years. I think today is the right time because infrastructure, the kind that Mr. Ravi Shankar mentioned, is getting built, and this is the time that we can actually make it happen. The proof also is in the fact that the Prime Minister himself leads the e-governance mission, and in fact is very actively engaged in terms of providing guidelines to us. So the proof is that it's not only in discussions in the conferences, but things are happening right now in the country. You know, many initiatives that have got started today, including the one that Mr. Ravi Shankar spoke about, the UID project, the electronic service delivery bill that's there, are probably things that are probably being done first time in the world of the size and scale that we see today. So I think it's not just about adopting technology, but leapfrogging and seeing what we can adopt, because we have an advantage. We don't have legacy to look at. I think the change management that we're looking at makes it easier today for us to adopt this, though the challenges that we have are many different. There are many questions that can be about our ability to carry this through. You know, we must remember that India, and a lot of people questioned it, how can we go 100% electronic in voting? And I think we should be proud that as the largest democracy, even US does not have 100% voting, which is electronic, and I think we did it. We should also not forget that what we started way back in the 60s, which was the railway reservation project, is probably one of its kind where technology has helped every citizen today in enabling it to travel. And in a country like ours, with the geographical spread that we have, I think we should be proud of what has been done there. I think the area that we really need to focus, if at all there would be a concern, would be technology is not about automating things. It's really about transforming and ensuring that the processes that we use in the government are changing. And I think over this last 3 to 4 years, the enormous amount of work that's been done to see that the projects that have got implemented are not just automating the current processes, but transforming them so that they become more efficient. And I think these examples exist today of very successful projects that have happened, mostly a very unique new partnership that's come in between the government and the industry. State data centers that have come up, the NCA 21, where today we do not have to file any single paper to the company affairs. In fact, acknowledgements come, approvals too come. I'm sure that the number of visits that get made to the Ministry of Company Affairs have actually dwindled down many, many fold. We have the Air Force network, the UID project, the passport, the citizen services, and I think there are many, many such things that have happened already as proof points that it can be done, and the 27 mission mode projects, and I'm sure Mr. Satyanarayana will dwell on it. Many of you may not know that as a very unique partnership, several years back, an institute got created, the National Institute of Smart Governance, which was a joint venture between NASSCOM, ILFS, and the government. In fact, Mr. Satyanarayana, we are happy that he is today our secretary, was also the chief executive for several years and put it on a track where this organization became a consulting organization for the government. The reason I mention this is that today the work that we do is not going to be done by anyone. We have to all collectively do it. And I think there has to be a very definitive, strong partnership between industry and the government. There are, at times, these questions come up about make or buy, which happens in corporations. It happens in the government. But it is getting clearer that as technology becomes complex, I think the partnership needs to take a very different role. And that means that there is a change in the mindset, both from the industry and the government, of changing and shifting from a vendor-customer relationship to truly a technology partnership, because we got to think ahead of what the challenges would be and how we'll do it. So there are many roles in this whole process. There is about developing concept, design, governance, which clearly is a role that the government will play themselves. And I think we need to ensure that there are enough capabilities within the government to be able to absorb these technologies and products. But on the other hand, issues like implementation, project execution, and subsequent support and maintenance has to be done by the industry. And the question that Mr. Ravi Shankar mentioned, yes, this industry has over the years been very effectively servicing the world, but it's good to see that the growth rates today in the domestic sector are actually faster than the exports. And I think that is a proof point that this partnership is working, and the government part of this spend will be extremely high. As we do this, I think it's also to our success, it's important that we leverage the entire ecosystem. And that ecosystem is not only people who provide hardware and large companies who provide services. I think it's important to get involved in this, the small and medium enterprises where tremendous amount of innovation is happening, new projects, new products are coming up. And as we start leveraging the broadband connectivity, internet, and mobile, and particularly mobile, I believe that by the end of this year, India would touch the magic figure of 1 billion subscribers. 40% is already the penetration rate, I believe, is already in the rural areas, whereas the factor in urban areas is almost running at 1.5. I think these platforms will actually happen that small companies will develop many solutions, very, very innovative ones that would need to be built in. Today, there are discussions going on in DIT, and I'm very happy to say that it's very progressively happening about how we can include the small companies, service providers to get involved. And just think for a moment, most of our focus is always on these large projects and at ministerial level. But if those 250,000 villages do get connected, just imagine the capacity that's required at those areas, right? People who will deliver, the people who will be the interface between the village folks who need information and technology. There will be people who will be intermediaries. At the same time, there is infrastructure for us to manage. We haven't been able to do that in the past, so it's going to be large opportunity that exists for people to be capitalizing on this, and this capacity is what is needed today. In fact, just day before yesterday, we had huge amount of deliberations on what, how many people at what capacity do we need to be able to service the e-governance. I think there are many technologies besides mobile, social media, analytics, every one of them which have opportunities that we still need to tap and build it into each of our projects. Of course, the fact that we have many states, each of them at times tend to do their own work. Cloud enables us to do common areas, and I think those are other programs that are very important for us to see that we are not duplicating the effort, and we will design, execute once, and replicate it again and again. I'm also very happy to say that the effort that is going on in other areas, for example, GIS, where GIS tools and solutions will become, and the national GIS plan that's on, would actually enable us to use it across the country for, the fact that the Secretary mentioned earlier about the urban areas. How do we plan out the urban facilities? And we know that digging of roads and so on create major problems in our urban areas. I think the common GIS platform would enable many of these things, both in urban, rural areas, including transport, mining, etc. And as is being still thought of in many countries, if we make this GIS data open, which is what we call as open data platforms, then third parties, private sector should be able to leverage this rather than each time buy it from somewhere else. This is authenticated GIS data that's available. There are barriers, and let's not ignore them. We can talk about what the advantages are. And those are about, as we mentioned, duplication of effort, siloed efforts at times in various departments, standards that need to be open, interoperability between systems, security, and I'll talk about a little bit there, project governance, and strong project management discipline. So building those capacities become very, very important. I would say that when I was looking at the schedule and there was large number of E's there, including e-politics, I would think we should add in these conferences yet another E called e-execution. right? I think the discussion should shift away from why we need governance and what is governance and what can IT do, because that's established. I think we have seen the advantages. I think the whole focus should shift to what is it that we need to do and execute. And that execution is not easy. There are problems. People have never executed things at this plane. When we go internationally and talk about your project of 250,000 villages and how they're going to get connected, I don't think in very many places at this scale, something of this nature has been ever taken up, right? So I think for all of us, rather than being naysayers and cynics, I think we just need to join hands together and ensure that we collectively help in executing what we have. There are, I would say that as this connection happens, and I think and this is my last point here, there is increased concern. This is the first time that every data that we talk about citizens, what we do, where we are, every part of it is now digitized. And there are concerns that would this be somewhere touching the privacy of people? Would there be unintended consequences of the way governments may or not willfully, but otherwise may land up using this information in a particular manner? These concerns are not unfounded. There are many other countries where this has been there. But the question is, these need to be addressed. The addressal is not by our giving up adoption of technology, but to be coming up with very strong mechanisms, both in terms of practices and acts, in each of the projects that we do. So if you look at the various acts that are there today, and we are reviewing each one of them right now, or what are the privacy principles there? And I think very shortly, and I think let's presume that in the next year, year and a half, India would have a very strong, flexible, but effective Privacy Act, which would take away the concerns that keep coming up in civil societies among people, because the option is not adoption of the technology, the option is only of addressing this particular issue. I would really say that we have a unique opportunity of making India the hub for e-governance innovation. I don't think any other country has this opportunity as we have. And we also have an opportunity of taking this learnings and execution capabilities that we are developing to other strategic countries around the neighborhood, around CIS, Africa, and many other countries who need it. So I would just say on behalf of the industry and commit ourselves to the huge program that we have, and as we said, it can only be done collectively, and the industry is committed to be partnering in this. Thank you very much.